Get 5 coffins ready.
Hey everyone, and welcome to my guide for Hachiman. Hachiman is a very easy and flexible hunter, and he's perfect for beginners to the ADC role or people who just don't want to learn the role but want to have a safe and easy but still competitive character in their pocket for the role. Build-wise, as I said, Hachiman is very flexible. If you're new to ADCs, there's generally 3 types of builds for them: Power Pen, Attack Speed Pen, and Crit builds, and the best one in the meta currently is the one you want to build on Hachiman, since he can perform well with all 3. But as always, you can go the build you personally like the most on Hachiman given your playstyle with him. Relics wise, boringly enough, you just go beads and ages, no room for anything too fancy here. Shard wise, as always on basic attack characters, go Wing Shard. Let's get into Hachi with one of the most beautifully simple passives in the game. Every time Hachiman successfully lands a basic attack, he will gain a passive stack, and each stack grants him 2 MP5, scaling with his current level. This passive stacks up to a whopping 5 times and lasts for a seemingly eternal 8 seconds, with additional basic attacks of course refreshing the duration. Not much to say other than stack it up whenever you can and try to be proactive on hitting waves so you can stay at max passive stacks for longer. This passive is so effective in fact that you can completely skip out on mana potions on Hachiman, instead giving yourself multi potions or just plain more health pots at the start of the match. I've liked Hachi since he came out and played him a ton, and thanks to this passive, I've literally never run out of mana on him, so be sure to take advantage of it and grab those extra potions. Hachiman's first ability is again beautifully simple. Hachiman loads up 4 special arrows, and these arrows will enhance his basic attacks. They obviously travel way further than normal basic attacks, but if they land in range of normal basic attacks, they will deal bonus damage. And yes, this bonus damage and the extended range portions of the basic attack can crit, as well as apply on-hit items like Executioner and Kin Size. Plus the bonus damage scales off of your power, so this ability enhances literally any playstyle you go for. The key is when to go for it though. Since the basic attacks can be body blocked by minions and gods alike, and will be consumed even if you miss, and can't hit towers or deployables, and takes time to charge up. Okay, so there are flaws, but you basically never want to be caught in a fight without using this ability for the bonus damage. Don't spend all day looking for the best opportunity to pop the ability though, as you want to pop it as early as possible in order to avoid that initial wind-up time messing you up. You may also see it late game as a good poke tool, and sometimes this is true, but in most situations, even with that crazy range, it really isn't too safe to go for. Unless you get a clear shot at a squishy, likely because they're out of position, sure, go for it. But the basic attack movement speed penalty still makes that extra range almost amounting to nothing if the enemy frontline is paying any attention to you. So while it's totally acceptable to just activate the ability to enable yourself quicker follow-up to any teammates engages or CC, don't just rush forward like it's a free ticket to trunk out anyone on an enemy team and not get punished for it. Oh, and those long-range basic attacks can be pretty tricky to hit sometimes, so try to get some practice in with them first. What's not hard to hit is Hachiman's second ability. Hachiman drops down a banner, this banner dealing damage and creating a small AoE for 6 seconds. After the banner is dropped, Hachiman gains attack speed, and any allies who enter the banner's AoE, including Hachiman, will gain attack speed as well, so he doubles the current stim given by the ability. Given this, both bonuses aren't too much, just 20% at max rank, so 40% total if Hachiman is able to find himself inside the banner, which, as you may have gathered, doesn't happen too often, at least not while he's fighting other gods. No, this is Hachi's main wave clear and actually a pretty good poke tool too. It doesn't really annihilate waves, and he certainly needs to bunch up the whole wave with basic attacks to hit the whole thing, but it's most of all safe clear, which boosts his attack speed for some wave suppression and sustain with some basic attacks. If your lane opponent walks up too far though, be sure to take advantage and hit both the archers and them with this ability, and trust me, you will hit them. I'm not sure if I'm just gifted in the art of pressing too, but it's much harder to miss this ability than it is to hit it. As for using the bonus attack speed for yourself and your team, well, it comes up in very obvious situations. Doing objectives like Fire Giant and Gold Fury, or killing towers, and of course, when doing these by yourself, you still want to drop the banner. Well, what about late game teamfights? Isn't it best just to slap it down on yourself for some extra attack speed? This is a big ol' no. This limits your frame of movement as one of the highest priority targets on the team since you need to be getting that banner buff to justify not using it for damage. And plus, as I mentioned, the damage isn't insane or anything, but it's still decent damage to get you started on killing someone, and you still get a sweet little attack speed stim to boot. A simple ability with a lot of uses then, just like Hachi's third ability. Hachiman dashes forward, then strikes in the circle AoE. Both sections of the dash deal damage, and enemies hit by both sections of the ability are stunned. A pretty intense ability then, and one that deals a whole lot of damage if he hits the whole thing. You need to be careful though, not just with your decision making when you want to all in with this ability, but also keep in mind that the dash is fast but not very lengthy. So while Hachi's ultimate is a great escape tool, you want to try first and foremost to position yourself to stay safe with this ability as your main escape method. Generally, this is around the range of your second ability, which can sort of work against you if you want to be aggressive with this ability since, as I mentioned, it's not exactly long. It's also the sort of dash where you need to be really careful when it comes to CC or enemy structures blocking you from dashing. Again, since it's so short and all, and it can be very easy to make Hachiman feel like he never dashed at all. But let's talk about the fun stuff when it comes to using the ability aggressively. This is easily the hardest part of Hachiman's kit. You can very easily hit that second part of the dash no problem, right? But it's hitting both sections that is absolutely necessary if you're trying to dash in. While sidestepping Hachiman's dash isn't really an option from the enemy's perspective, they most certainly can continue backstepping you to completely avoid the first section of the ability, or if they've got fast fingers, to CC you before the second section of the dash connects, say against a Cernanos or a Neath. But regardless, if you want to all-in with this ability, you really need to be on top of your matchups as Hachiman. That's not to say you should never go for a dash-in with Hachiman while you're still learning him, but it's definitely something you want to do sparingly, and conserve it as an escape until you're more familiar with Hachiman's strengths versus other ADCs at various parts of the game. Because you really don't want to have to waste Hachiman's ultimate just to escape every time. Hachiman becomes CC immune and mounts his horse. The horse will run forward, but Hachi can steer lightly by strafing left or right, and can freely move his aim in a 90-degree cone. At least it seems like 90 degrees, I don't know. Hachi can stay mounted for up to 3 seconds, but can get off the horse by cancelling the ability or reactivating the ability. When reactivating by basic attacking, Hachi will fire an arrow at all enemies currently in that massive AoE cone in front of him, and these arrows will track any enemies that Hachi can successfully hit. He obviously can't shoot through walls or shoot gods who are, say, in the air by leaping or have banished themselves, but if he was able to reactivate the ability before any of those things happen, the arrow will always follow them and will always hit them. Which is a good thing, since each arrow deals hefty damage and applies a slow. Firstly though, using it as an escape. Yeah, it's pretty downright disgusting as an escape. It can of course still be blocked by structures like a well-placed Ymir or Kraken wall, and gods like those are definitely ones you want to look out for and not pick Hachiman into if you're trying to draft him. But 9 times out of 10, all you gotta do is look away from who you're trying to run away from and trot off into the sunset. Note how I said you want to turn away first though, as turning on the horse is pretty much impossible. That's about all there is when escaping, so let's get to the more fun uses. Obviously, this is one of the best finishers in the entire game, a massive damaging slow that the enemy has no chance of avoiding. It's perfect. Net usage is pretty simple. Do the basic combos we've been discussing so far, and then finish them off with this ability. And anytime you use the ability, make sure to mash the basic attack button to get the reactivation shot as quickly as possible so you don't miss your shot. Again, like with the escape, try to line up your shot before you actually use the ultimate. Enemies can of course react very quickly to you and leap away or use their Aegis, but keep in mind that if they leap or use their Aegis too early, all you have to do as a Hachiman player is just sit tight up there on the horse till those possible immunities are over. In some situations though, you need to be very wary of holding off on this ability to save it as a finisher. As I've mentioned, Hachi's damage in his core kit is sorta neither here nor there, since his first ability offers so little extra damage and his attack speed stamina too is mediocre. So in some situations, depending on how much damage and or CC your team is able to provide for you, it might be up to you to blow this ability in the middle of a teamfight just for the damage in the slow, since Hachi himself won't be pumping out as much damage as other hunters late game. Do this wisely though, since as I've mentioned, this is his ticket out of very bad situations, so if you use it mid-team fight and your team still loses, there's just no way you're going to get out. How about using it aggressively in a one-on-one though? Well actually, the same rule applies here. Use it at the correct time, you'll probably win. Mistime it, whether that be using it too early or relying on it too long to finish someone off, and you'll probably lose. This requires really good matchup knowledge from the Hachi player, but in general, you want to be either very aggressive or very passive with Hachi. There's really no in-between thanks to the way his ultimate and his third ability works. Generally, immobile gods have a very hard time into Hachi, and more mobile or CC heavy gods who can stop or avoid Hachi's dash and or ultimate he can't deal with all too well. And in very good matchups, or especially in times when Hachi is ahead, he can easily just ult right off the bat, use his dash right after, and combo from there. But save that mega aggression for when you're more comfortable with it. Speaking of which, some combos with Hachi. 2 basic, 1 basic attacks. 2 walk forward while mashing 3, activate the 1, and basic attack them and chase. Basic 3, basic 2, 1, basic, chase with the ultimate. Ultimate 3, basic 2, 1, basics to chase. For ability leveling, you want your 2 at level 1, your 3 at level 2, and your 2 again at level 3, finally getting your 1 at level 4. From there you want to max your 2, your 3, then your 1, leveling the ultimate whenever you can. Just a preference thing I do is point skipping at level 8 to max the 2 and level the ultimate at level 9. Not necessary, but always felt good to me. So that's Hachiman, a super fun and very consistent hunter. He's not going to knock your socks off with high damage or lockdown, but he will give you plenty of opportunities to outplay your opponents, and crush anyone who gets behind against him. Hachiman can rule with an iron fist from ahead, but his super safe wave clear plus his ultimate still make him extremely easy to play safe with and just farm it out if things don't go his way. As I've mentioned throughout this guide, his peaks are still nowhere near other hunters, in terms of basic attack damage, ability damage, safety, and CC. Hachi's good there, but not the best, but few hunters can boast having strengths in all of those important categories, so he's definitely a good hunter to start with to get more acquainted with the hunter role, or if you just want a downright fun one in your arsenal. That's all I have on Hachi for now. Thanks for watching.